When we think of Nazi Germany's secret projects and wonder weapons, one name often stands out: Dr. Hans Kammler. A talented manager and organizer, but he was also a brutal technocrat, deeply involved in the atrocities of the Holocaust. His ruthlessness extended even to his role in the Nazi war machine, where he was responsible for the arrest of Werner von Braun and other V2 rocket scientists by the Gestapo. As Albert Speer described him, Kammler was one of Himmler's most brutal and ruthless henchmen. But what exactly were these secret projects Kammler oversaw? And could this project have involved technology far beyond what we know today? Kammler was born in Stettin and studied civil engineering in Danzig and Munich. He was personally responsible for the Arnsberg forest massacre, in which 208 forced laborers, mainly women and children, and some POWs were massacred. Therefore, Kammler was included on a list of 10 high-ranking SS leaders targeted for assassination by the British Special Operations Executive SOE as part of the secret operation Foxley-Little Foxley. It was actually assumed that he had died in the last days of the war in Prague, either by suicide or at the hands of Czech freedom fighters, taking many Nazi secrets with him to his grave. But in 2014, a German scientific magazine reported that he survived the war. Based on newly declassified documents and statements, it suggested that Hans Kammler was captured by the Counterintelligence Corps, an American military intelligence service. In 2019, the Woodrow Wilson International Center for Scholars published a working paper titled Hans Kammler, Hitler's Last Hope in American Hands, a Staged Suicide. Did Hitler's last hope, SS Obergruppenführer Hans Kammler, survive the war? The most important evidence supporting this thesis was a report by Special Investigator Oscar Pack, dated August 1949. Pack had been informed by the CIC of Kammler's capture and subsequent escape. Recently, Donald W. Richardson, a special agent of the CIC and the Office of Strategic Services (OSS), has emerged as a key. Shortly before his death, he told his sons that he had brought Hans Kammler to the United States. For reasons of national security, he had to remain silent about it. Now, however, newly obtained documents prove unequivocally that Hans Kammler was indeed captured by US services. Why is there so much speculation about his fate, and what role did Kammler play in the Third Reich? He was appointed construction director in the Reich Aviation Ministry in 1940. In June 1941, he joined the Waffen-SS and was appointed head of Office 2, Construction, in the SS Main Office for Administration and Economics. In this role, Reichsfuhrer SS Heinrich Kammler assigned him to the task of overseeing the construction of various extermination camps, including gas chambers and crematoria. Kammler, as a result, bore significant responsibility for the genocide of European Jews. Kammler was extremely ambitious and took on increasing responsibility for the deployment of aircraft bombs, long-range missiles, and other V-weapons like the Rhine Messenger V4, developed by Rheinmetall. As a result, he and the SS became more involved in the V2 rocket program, with Kammler sharing military leadership with Walter Dornberger, despite the program initially being a Wehrmacht project. Kammler was responsible for organizing the underground production facilities and overseeing the use of forced labor. In 1944, Kammler took full control of the V2 program, further strengthening the SS's influence. Tensions between the SS and the scientists reached a peak when Werner von Braun, the V2's technical director and chief engineer, was arrested by the Gestapo in March 1944. Von Braun was only released after Armaments Minister Albert Speer personally intervened with Hitler, convincing him that von Braun's scientific abilities were more important than the SS's suspicions. On April 3, 1945, Kammler conferred for the last time with Hitler. Reich Minister of Propaganda Joseph Goebbels was impressed by Kammler and noted in his diary, "The Führer has had very long negotiations with Obergruppenführer Kammler, who now bears much of the responsibility for the reform of the Luftwaffe on his shoulders. Kammler is doing well, and great hopes rest on him." There is no doubt that Kammler was responsible for secret Nazi projects, but the question remains, which secret projects were involved? Was there an advanced nuclear program? Or was the research into more exotic technologies? Why was the Nazi leadership still convinced, just 1 month before Germany's unconditional surrender to the Allies, that his projects could turn the tide? Why was Albert Speer rightly put on trial at Nuremberg, while Kammler was possibly protected by US intelligence services? And why would US intelligence and the military have struck a deal with the devil? This is why his name is repeatedly associated with projects that sound more like pseudoscience or a crazy conspiracy theory. For example, the alleged anti-gravity project Die Glocke, or in English, The Bell. At least, that was the story told by Polish journalist Igor Witkowski in his book The Truth About the Wonder Weapon, published in 2000. However, the story only became known worldwide a year later by the multi-award-winning British aviation journalist from Jane's Defence Weekly Night Cook in his book The Hunt for Zero Point Inside the Classified World of Anti-Gravity Technology. As the British historian Mark Felton explains in a YouTube video worth watching, the paper trail of this project does not exist, which is difficult to explain given the German penchant for bureaucracy. However, he also mentions that although the story of the bell became known through Nick Cook's book, it had already been published in a French book from 1960, The Morning of the Magicians, Introduction to Fantastic Realism, which was also translated into English in 1963. He also mentioned that the bell is often associated with the Keckberg UFO incident of 1965 on the internet and in certain media. But for most scientists, these stories were myths and legends. But this changed with the appearance of UFO whistleblower David Grush on Joe Rogan in 2023. His testimony about a UFO landing or crash in Magenta near Milan in northern Italy in 1933 and the involvement of the Mussolini regime and Nazi Germany in the matter makes reports of anti-gravity research from that time seem more credible. Moreover, Italian researchers have been able to trace a paper trail of this event. As we delve deeper into the mysterious role Hans Kammler played in Nazi Germany's secret projects, the lines between history and speculation blur. Were his technologies far more advanced than we know? Or are these just stories born out of post-war myth and conspiracy? The truth, it seems, may still be hidden among classified documents and forgotten archives. What do you think? Could Kammler have been working on something as groundbreaking as anti-gravity? Is it possible that secret technologies from World War II have shaped the world we live in today? Drop your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into history's unsolved mysteries.